There comes a moment when you realize the greatest threat to your peace isn't an enemy. It isn't criticism. It isn't rejection. It's the quiet habit of allowing other people to decide how you should feel. Someone ignores your message, and your mood changes. Someone questions your decision, and suddenly you begin questioning yourself. Someone speaks to you with disrespect, and you spend the entire day replaying that conversation in your mind. Little by little, your peace no longer belongs to you. It belongs to whoever last influenced your emotions. The Stoics believed this was one of the most dangerous ways a person could live. Not because people will always be unfair, but because the world will never stop testing your character. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire filled with betrayal, criticism, and constant pressure. Yet every evening he reminded himself of one simple truth. No one can disturb my mind unless I allow them to. Think about that for a moment. How many people have occupied your thoughts today without paying a single moment of attention to you? How many arguments are you still carrying that the other person has already forgotten? How much energy have you sacrificed trying to earn respect from people who never intended to give it? The greatest act of self-respect isn't proving someone wrong. It's refusing to surrender your peace to people who haven't earned it. Today, I want to share several Stoic ideas that completely changed the way I respond to disrespect, criticism, and difficult people. Not because they made the world kinder, but because they made me stronger than the world around me.
Welcome to True Stoic Journal, the path to inner control.
Most people believe confidence is something you display. The Stoics believed confidence is something you protect. There's an important difference. The moment your confidence depends on another person's approval, it stops being confidence. It becomes dependence. Many people spend years trying to appear strong. They speak louder. They argue longer. They explain every decision. They defend themselves against every opinion. But none of these things create real strength. Very often, they reveal insecurity. Real confidence rarely announces itself. It doesn't feel the need to win every argument. It doesn't panic when someone misunderstands it. It simply continues walking its chosen path. I once met a businessman whose calmness fascinated me. During an important meeting, someone openly criticized his proposal. The room became silent. Everyone expected an argument. Instead, he thanked the person for their opinion, made one short clarification, and calmly continued the meeting. Afterward, I asked why he hadn't defended himself more aggressively. He smiled and said something I've never forgotten. People who know my character don't need a performance. People who don't know my character won't be convinced by one. That sentence stayed with me for years. Because it exposed something uncomfortable. Many of us aren't defending our ideas. We're defending our ego. And the ego is never satisfied. It always wants the last word. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves that another person's opinion belongs to them. Your character belongs to you. Confusing those two things creates endless suffering. Another lesson completely transformed the way I viewed disrespect. I used to believe every rude comment deserved a response. Every unfair accusation deserved clarification. Every misunderstanding needed correction. But experience taught me something very different. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. When someone speaks with anger, bitterness, or contempt, they are often inviting you into an emotional world they've already created. The moment you react impulsively, you've accepted the invitation. Now you're playing by their rules. Epictetus warned that if someone can provoke you whenever they choose, they have quietly gained influence over your mind. That realization changed the way I approached difficult conversations. Instead of asking, how do I prove them wrong? I began asking, Is this conversation worthy of my peace? Most of the time. The answer was no. Walking away isn't a weakness. Remaining silent isn't surrender. Sometimes they are the highest expressions of self-control. There is remarkable strength in refusing to fight battles that only exist to drain your energy. Not because you're afraid. Because you've learned that your peace has greater value than your pride. Another mistake many people make is believing respect comes from pleasing everyone. It doesn't. In fact, people who constantly seek approval often receive the least respect. Why? Because someone willing to abandon their own values just to avoid disappointing others quietly teaches the world that their boundaries are negotiable. The Stoics never encouraged arrogance. But they also refused to sacrifice their principles simply to be liked. Seneca once observed that the person who tries to satisfy everyone eventually loses themselves. I have seen this happen countless times. Someone says yes when they desperately want to say no. They apologize for things that require no apology. They tolerate behavior that deeply hurts them simply because they fear conflict. Months later, they wonder why nobody seems to value them. Respect begins long before another person gives it. It begins the moment you decide that your values are no longer for sale. That doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming clear. Clear about what you accept. Clear about what you refuse. Clear about the life you are willing to build. And clarity has a quiet power that arguments never will. There was another realization that completely changed the way I understood difficult people. Most disrespect has very little to do with you. At first, that sounds impossible to believe. When someone insults you, ignores you, or speaks to you with unnecessary harshness, it feels deeply personal. But if you observe, you'll notice a pattern. The person who constantly criticizes others is rarely at peace with themselves. The person who needs to belittle everyone around them is usually fighting a battle they haven't won within. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people act according to the understanding they possess. If their understanding is limited by anger, jealousy, insecurity, or fear, their actions will naturally reflect those emotions. That doesn't excuse disrespect. But it explains why carrying their words inside your heart only creates unnecessary suffering. Imagine someone throwing mud at a mountain. The mountain doesn't become dirty because someone wanted it to. The mud simply falls back to the ground. The Stoics believed your character should become like that mountain. Steady. Unshaken. Impossible to move through emotional chaos alone. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens each time you refuse to allow another person's behavior to define your own. Every calm response strengthens your discipline. Every unnecessary argument you avoid protects your peace. Every insult you refuse to carry makes your mind a little lighter. Slowly, you begin noticing something remarkable. Situations that once ruined your entire day barely affect your afternoon. People who once controlled your emotions no longer occupy your thoughts. The world hasn't changed. Your relationship with it has. Perhaps the hardest lesson of all is learning that boundaries are an expression of wisdom, not selfishness. Many people believe kindness means endless patience, endless availability, endless forgiveness. But kindness without boundaries eventually becomes self-neglect. If you allow someone to repeatedly disrespect you without consequence, you aren't teaching them compassion. You're teaching them permission. Healthy boundaries are not walls built to keep everyone out. They're doors that allow the right people to enter while gently keeping unhealthy behavior outside. The people who genuinely value you will understand them. Those who become angry because you finally created boundaries often benefited from your lack of them. That truth can be uncomfortable. But it is incredibly freeing. The Stoics understood that protecting your peace isn't an act of selfishness. It's an act of responsibility. Because a peaceful mind makes wiser decisions. A peaceful mind loves more sincerely. A peaceful mind serves others more effectively. You cannot continually pour from a cup that someone else keeps emptying. There comes a point where saying, "enough," becomes an act of self-respect. Not revenge. Not punishment. Simply wisdom. And wisdom rarely needs to raise its voice. One final lesson changed the way I measured strength forever. For years, I believed strength meant proving people wrong. Winning debates. Always having the perfect response. Never allowing anyone to think badly of me. But life slowly revealed a much deeper truth. Strength is waking up every morning without resentment. Strength is refusing to let bitterness become your personality. Strength is treating people with dignity even after someone else failed to treat you with the same respect. Because your character should never become a copy of someone else's behavior. If another person's cruelty turns you into someone you no longer recognize, they have taken far more than a single moment from you. They have taken a piece of your character. The Stoics refused to give anyone that victory. No matter how unfair life became. They remained committed to becoming the kind of person they themselves could admire. That is a standard no critic can destroy. No insult can diminish. And no difficult person can take away. As you move through life, remember that not everyone will appreciate your kindness. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will respect your boundaries. Accept that reality. Not with disappointment. With peace. Because your responsibility has never been to manage another person's character. Your responsibility has always been to protect your own. Every encounter becomes an opportunity. Not to change someone else. But to practice patience. To strengthen discipline. To deepen wisdom. Little by little, you'll stop fearing difficult people. You'll stop replaying disrespect in your mind. You'll stop carrying emotional burdens that never belonged to you. Instead, you'll discover something far more valuable. An inner peace that no opinion can shake. A confidence that doesn't require applause. A dignity that cannot be taken, only surrendered. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to True Stoic Journal for more timeless lessons on wisdom, resilience, self-mastery, and inner peace. Remember this: the strongest person is not the one who wins every argument. It is the one who knows which arguments are not worth entering. Because the moment you stop fighting for other people's approval, you finally become free to protect your own peace.